So there I was, Jake Morrison, professional space trucker and accidental diplomat, standing in the middle of the fanciest weapons expo the galaxy had ever seen. And let me tell you, I did not sign up for this. I was supposed to be delivering protein paste to a mining colony on Tau Ceti 5. Simple job, easy money. But no, my navigation system glitched. I ended up requesting emergency docking at the wrong space station. And now I'm surrounded by approximately 300 alien species, who all look like they want to either study me or eat me. Possibly both. Honored delegates of the Galactic Council, announced Ambassador Threxus, this 7-foot-tall bird creature with way too many feathers and an even bigger ego. Welcome to the 500th annual demonstration of galactic deterrence. Today, we gather to showcase the pinnacle of defensive technology across our great civilization. Defensive technology, right. Because nothing says defense like a room full of things explicitly designed to delete other things from existence. Threxus spotted me in the crowd and his beak did this thing that I think was supposed to be a smile but looked more like he was about to cough up a hairball. Ah, and we have a special guest today. A human. How delightfully primitive. I suppose we can allow one representative from Earth to observe, as a gesture of cultural outreach. Yeah, thanks for that, I muttered. Real generous of you. The other delegates turned to stare at me. I got the distinct impression that humans showing up to these things was about as common as a vegan at a barbecue competition. Lots of curious looks. Even more suspicious ones. A reptilian delegate with too many eyes leaned over to his companion. Is that the species that still uses chemical propulsion? I believe so, his friend whispered back. Charming in their simplicity, really. I smiled and waved. They did not wave back. Threxus spread his wings in what I assumed was a dramatic gesture. Today, you will witness the most fearsome instruments of warfare ever conceived. Technologies so advanced, so devastating, that their mere existence has prevented conflicts for centuries. He paused for effect. Nobody applauded. Tough crowd. We begin our demonstrations in precisely 10 standard minutes. Please proceed to the observation gallery. And do try to contain your awe. As everyone filed toward the gallery, I found myself walking next to a slug-like creature wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. At least, I hoped it was a uniform and not just his skin doing something weird. First time at the demonstrations? He gurgled at me. Yeah, you could say that. You? 23rd year. Commander Vaxus, Molluscan Defense Fleet. He extended something that might have been a hand. I shook it. It was moist. Fair warning, human. Some of these weapons are quite intense. We have medical staff on standby for delegates who experience shock. Appreciate the heads up, I said, but I think I'll manage. Vaxus made a sound like water going down a drain. I think he was laughing. Oh, you say that now. Wait until you see the Krellian disintegrator. Grown delegates have fainted. I followed the crowd into the observation gallery, which was basically a giant theater with a massive transparent wall looking out into empty space. In the distance, I could see what looked like asteroids floating around, probably set up as targets for whatever light show was about to begin. Threxus took center stage at a podium, his feathers practically glowing with self-importance. Esteemed colleagues, we shall commence with a demonstration from the Krellian Collective. Their molecular disintegration cannon has a range of 4 light seconds and can reduce solid matter to its component atoms in mere moments. Everyone leaned forward. I yawned. This was going to be a long day. A massive ship glided into view, all sharp angles and glowing purple energy conduits. It looked like someone had given a geometry, textbook, anger management issues, and a power source. The Krellian delegate, this insectoid creature with crystalline armor, stood up and clicked his mandibles together in what I assumed was pride. Behold, Threxus announced, the molecular disintegrator Mark 7. Witness as it demonstrates its power on a nickel-iron asteroid approximately 2 kilometers in diameter. The ship's main cannon began to glow. Energy built up with all the subtlety of a rave in a lighthouse. Then, a beam of purple light shot out and hit the asteroid dead center. And I'll give them this, it was impressive. The asteroid didn't explode. It didn't shatter. It just sort of stopped being solid. The whole thing dissolved into a cloud of atoms, like someone had hit the universe's delete key. The gallery erupted in polite clicking and chirping. Alien applause, apparently. I raised my hand. Threxus's head swiveled toward me with a look that suggested he'd already regretted letting me in. Yes, human. Quick question. How long does it take to recharge that thing? The Krellian delegate's mandibles twitched. 6 standard hours for a full power cycle. And how much does one of those ships cost? That is classified military information. So, a lot, I said. Cool, cool. Just wondering what happens if you miss. You could have heard a pin drop. Well, if pins made noise in space, you get the idea. Threxus cleared his throat, which sounded like sandpaper on glass. Moving on. Our next demonstration comes from the Zentari Empire. Their quantum implosion device represents the cutting edge of gravitational warfare. A sleek silver drone appeared, barely the size of a minivan. It didn't look nearly as intimidating as the Krellian ship, but the way everyone tensed up told me this one was special. The quantum implosion device, Threxus continued, creates a localized singularity that collapses matter into a point of infinite density. Effective range, planetary. Collateral damage, minimal, as matter. The effect is precisely contained. The drone fired something invisible at another asteroid. For a second, nothing happened. Then the entire asteroid just folded in on itself, like reality was playing the video in reverse, until it compressed down to a point no bigger than a marble. Then that marble winked out of existence entirely. More applause. More impressed chittering. Okay, that one was actually pretty cool, I admitted. Does it run on batteries, or do you have to plug it in? The Zentari delegate, who looked like an angry cloud of gas in a containment suit, turned what I think was his head toward me. This is sophisticated quantum technology, not a primitive electronic device. Right, sorry, sophisticated. Got it. I nodded seriously. So what happens if the containment fails while you're holding it? The cloud flickered. That would be catastrophic. Thought so. Just checking. Commander Vaxis leaned over to me. You seem remarkably unimpressed for someone witnessing the galaxy's most powerful weapons. Oh, don't get me wrong, I said. They're great, very explodey, very science-y. I'm just waiting for something actually dangerous. Vaxis's eye stalks retracted slightly. Actually dangerous? Human, these weapons can destroy planets. Yeah, but can you afford to use them? Because that's kind of the whole point of weapons, right? Actually using them when you need to. Before Vaxis could respond, Threxus announced the third demonstration. His voice had taken on a slightly strained quality, like a teacher whose student kept asking why. And now, from the Floxian Consortium, a demonstration of biological deterrence. The atmospheric cleansing virus. A collective shudder went through the gallery. Even the confident delegates looked uncomfortable. The Floxian virus, Threxus explained, his voice dropping to something almost reverent, is capable of sterilizing the entire biosphere of a Class M planet within 72 hours. It is self-replicating, airborne, and has a 99.7% effectiveness rate. A small canister was launched toward a third asteroid, this one apparently seeded with some kind of test ecosystem. Within minutes, readouts showed every life sign on the rock flatlined. The gallery was silent. This one wasn't getting applause. This one got respect born from fear. I broke the silence. So, like a really aggressive flu, every single alien head turned toward me. Humanity dealt with a pandemic in 2020, I continued. Locked down the whole planet for a year. That was just nature being random. Can't imagine dealing with one on purpose would be worse. Threxus's feathers were starting to look ruffled. Literally. Human Jake, I understand your species is new to galactic affairs, but perhaps a bit of decorum. No, I'm genuinely asking, I interrupted. Because from where I'm sitting, all of these are very impressive ways to wreck stuff. But they're all kind of one note, right? Big boom, everyone dies, problem solved. Where's the creativity? Where's the strategy? Commander Vaxis's entire body had gone rigid. Are you suggesting that human weapons are superior to these? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying if these are the galaxy's most feared weapons, I'm starting to understand why Earth hasn't heard from you guys until recently. The temperature in the room seemed to drop about 20 degrees. Threxus's voice was ice. Perhaps you would like to see our ultimate deterrent before making such bold claims. Sure, I said. Hit me with your best shot. I really should have seen where this was going. Threxus's feathers puffed up to maximum volume, which I was starting to recognize as his tell for when he thought he was about to win an argument. He gestured dramatically toward the viewport with both wings, like a game show host revealing the grand prize. Honored delegates, and our skeptical human guest, what you are about to witness has kept the galactic core at peace. For 3 centuries, wars have ended at the mere mention of its name. Entire star systems have surrendered rather than face its power. Oh boy, here we go. I present to you. Threxus paused for maximum dramatic effect, the Obliterator. The lights in the gallery dimmed. Ominous music started playing from somewhere. These aliens really committed to the drama. I had to give them that. Something massive began to eclipse the stars outside. And I mean massive. This thing was the size of a small moon, all dark metal and glowing red lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. Honestly, it looked like someone had taken every sci-fi movie villain ship and mashed them together into one giant piece of overcompensation. The Obliterator, Threxus intoned, represents the combined technological achievement of 17 species over 200 years of development. Its primary weapon system can penetrate a planet's crust and destabilize the mantle, causing catastrophic tectonic failure. A holographic display lit up, showing simulations of what I assumed were planets having very bad days, continents splitting apart, oceans boiling, the whole apocalypse special. The psychological impact alone has prevented 47 wars, Threxus continued. No civilization has dared challenge the Council since its completion. It is the ultimate deterrent, the final word in galactic security. The delegates were nodding, murmuring appreciation. Even the ones who had seemed bored earlier were paying attention now. This was clearly the main event. The Obliterator's weapons systems began charging. The red lines across its hull grew brighter. Energy readings on the displays were climbing into numbers that definitely would have impressed me if I had any idea what they meant. Then it fired. A beam of concentrated energy, wider than most ships I'd seen, lanced out and struck a dwarf planet they'd apparently set up as the final target. The beam drilled straight through the crust, and within seconds, the entire planet began to crack apart like an egg. Chunks of rock the size of mountains broke off and tumbled into space. The core, now exposed, glowed white-hot before the whole thing started collapsing in on itself. It took about 3 minutes. When it was done, the dwarf planet was just a debris field and some very angry-looking clouds of superheated gas. The gallery erupted in applause. Real applause this time, not just polite acknowledgement. Delegates were standing up, making whatever gestures their species used for approval. Threxus turned to me with what I can only describe as a smug expression. "Well, human Jake, does this meet your standards for actually dangerous?" I watched the debris field slowly expand and dim. Then I looked back at Threxus. "So it's a really expensive drill?" The applause died like someone had hit a mute button. "Excuse me?" Threxus's voice had gone very quiet. "I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very impressive drill. Probably the best drill I've ever seen. But at the end of the day, you're just making a hole in something until it breaks. Right?" Commander Vaxis rose from his seat, and suddenly he didn't look nearly as friendly as he had earlier. His entire body was quivering, which for a slug creature was apparently the equivalent of clenching your fists. "Human," he said slowly. "That weapon represents the peak of galactic military achievement. It has maintained peace through strength for longer than your species has had spaceflight. And you dare call it a drill? Hey, I'm not trying to be insulting," I said, holding up my hands. "It's clearly very good at what it does. I'm just saying, for a galaxy-ending superweapon, it's kind of a one-trick pony, isn't it? You point it at a planet, you crack the planet, everyone dies. Simple. Effective, but also kind of, I don't know, obvious." Threxus's feathers were bristling now. "And I suppose Earth has developed something superior in your brief primitive foray into space." "Well, no, not really," I admitted. "We don't actually build stuff like this." "Precisely," Threxus said, his confidence returning. "Because you cannot. Your technology is centuries behind ours." "Oh, we probably could if we wanted to," I said. "We just don't see the point." That got everyone's attention again. About 300 pairs of alien eyes, eye stalks, sensor organs, and whatever else they used to see were now locked on me. Vaxis oozed forward, getting uncomfortably close. "You claim humanity could build weapons like these but chooses not to? That is either remarkable arrogance or remarkable ignorance." "Okay, serious question," I said. "How many times have you actually used the Obliterator in combat?" Threxus blinked. "We have never needed to use it. Its existence alone." "Right, so never. And the quantum implosion thing? The molecular disintegrator? The planet-killing virus? Silence. That's what I thought," I continued. "You've built all these incredibly expensive, incredibly powerful weapons that are so scary you can't actually use them because if you do, everyone will gang up on you, or build their own, or just decide mutual destruction is on the menu. They're not weapons. They're very expensive lawn ornaments that occasionally make impressive demonstrations for weapons expos." Commander Vaxis's entire body was trembling now. "If human weapons are so vastly superior, then explain to me why Earth is not a dominant galactic power. Why do you hide on one small planet, barely explored beyond your own solar system? If your weapons are so practical and effective, why has no one heard of them?" I grinned. "Want me to show you?" The room went dead silent. Threxus's beak opened and closed several times. "You wish to demonstrate a human weapon? Here? Now? Sure, why not? You guys showed me yours." "Very well," Threxus said, and I could hear the trap snapping shut in his voice. "We accept your demonstration. Please, enlighten us as to humanity's supposed superiority in warfare." Yeah, I definitely walked right into that one. But in for a penny, in for a pound. "All right, so here's the thing about human weapons," I said, leaning back against the gallery railing like I was explaining why my favorite sports team was better than yours. "We kinda went through this whole phase about 100 years ago where we built bigger and bigger boomsticks. Nuclear weapons, mostly. could level entire cities, turn whole regions into radioactive wastelands. Very impressive, very scary. The delegates leaned in, suddenly interested, and then we realized something important. Those weapons were completely useless. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Wait, what? Commander Vaxis gurgled. Useless? But you just said they could destroy cities. Oh, they could. They absolutely could. But here's the problem. If you use them, the other guy uses theirs. Mutually assured destruction, we called it. Everyone dies, which means the actual utility of the weapon drops to zero because using it means you lose too. So we had thousands of these things, and they just sat there, making everyone nervous but never actually getting used. Threxus's head tilted. Then what was the point of building them? Exactly, I said, pointing at him. You're getting it. That's the same problem you guys have with the Obliterator. It's so powerful that using it makes you the villain, and suddenly everyone else decides you're the main threat. So it just sits there, looking scary, costing a fortune in maintenance, and doing nothing. But the deterrent effect, Threxus started, only works if everyone believes you're crazy enough to actually use it, I interrupted. And even then, only against threats big enough to justify it. What are you going to do, crack a planet because they didn't pay their trade tariffs? The weapon's too big for actual problems. I could see some of the delegates starting to nod. Others looked offended. Vaxis just looked confused. So humanity stopped building superweapons? Asked a delegate who looked like a crystalline tree. You simply gave up on military advancement? Oh no, we got way more advanced. We just got practical about it. See, humans learned that the best weapons are the ones that are cheap enough to actually use, effective enough to actually matter, and boring enough that no one writes intergalactic peace treaties about them. Boring? Threxus squawked. Warfare is not supposed to be boring. Sure it is. The most effective weapons are the ones your enemy doesn't even realize are weapons until it's too late. Drones, for example. We've got swarms of those. Cost about as much as a decent car. You can lose 100 of them and still come out ahead economically. And they actually get used because nobody's going to declare total war over some flying robots. I was warming to my subject now. Or economic warfare. That's a fun one. You don't blow up your enemy's planet. You just make it economically non-viable for them to keep fighting. Sanction their trade routes. Freeze their assets. Fund their opposition. Suddenly they're too broke to fight, and you didn't have to fire a single shot. Way cheaper than building a moon-sized death ray. The Zentari delegate's gas cloud flickered. That seems dishonorable. Maybe, but it works. And it doesn't leave you with a debris field where a civilization used to be. Plus, and here's the key part, you can actually do it without everyone else in the galaxy deciding you're the next big threat that needs to be taken down. Commander Vaxis was staring at me with what I was pretty sure was horror dawning on his face. You are saying that humanity weaponizes economics, trade, normal aspects of civilization? Well, yeah. We weaponize everything, really. Information, social media, supply chains, culture. Why build one expensive thing that cracks planets when you can have a million cheap things that make the enemy crack themselves? That is barbaric, whispered the rebel, crystalline tree delegate. Is it though? Because from where I'm standing, barbaric is cracking planets. What we do is just really aggressive negotiation with extra steps. Threxus had been quiet for a while, which I was learning was never a good sign. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. You are saying that humanity has moved beyond conventional warfare entirely. Not entirely. We've still got guns and missiles and all that stuff. But we learned that the problem with superweapons is right there in the name. Super. They're too super. They're like bringing a rocket launcher to a fistfight. Sure, you'll win, but everyone's going to be mad about it, and you'll probably blow yourself up too. I gestured at the Obliterator, still hanging in space like a metallic monument to overkill. That thing out there? It's incredible engineering. Probably cost more than Earth's entire GDP. But it's also strategically useless because the only targets worth using it on are too important to actually destroy. And any target small enough that you wouldn't mind destroying it isn't worth using a planet cracker on. It's a weapon with no practical application. So what would humanity use instead? Asked a reptilian delegate from the back. Depends on the situation. Small conflict? Drones and targeted strikes? Bigger conflict? Economic pressure and information warfare? Really big conflict? That's when you break out the fun stuff. Fun stuff? Vaxis asked nervously. Psychological warfare, cyber attacks, biological agents that target crops instead of people, self-replicating nanobots that eat specific materials, weaponized misinformation campaigns, the kind of stuff that makes your enemy wonder if fighting you is even worth the hassle. The gallery had gone very quiet. The scariest human weapon, I continued, isn't something that destroys. It's something that corrupts, makes your systems work for us instead of you, turns your own infrastructure into our asset, makes you question whether your leaders are even still on your side. That is monstrous, breathed Threxus. Maybe, I shrugged. But it's effective, it's economical, and most importantly, it's scalable. We can use it on one ship, or one planet, or one empire, and the response is proportional to the threat. Unlike, say, a weapon that only has one setting, Apocalypse. Commander Vaxis had gone very still. Your species sounds terrifying. Nah, we're mostly harmless. We just learned that the best way to win a fight is to make sure the other guy doesn't want to fight in the first place. And if he does want to fight, you make it so expensive and annoying that he gives up halfway through. Threxus drew himself up to his full height. Well then, human Jake, since you have so many opinions about practical weapons, perhaps you would care to demonstrate one? Show us this supposedly superior human approach to warfare? Oh no. I talked myself right into a corner. You want me to demonstrate a human weapon? Here? At your fancy weapons expo? Unless you were merely boasting, Threxus said sweetly. We would certainly understand if humanity's weapons are all theoretical. Every delegate in the room was watching me now. Even the ones who'd been half asleep earlier were paying attention. I sighed. Fine, but you guys asked for this. Do you have access to the station's communication network? Threxus blinked. The communication network? What does that have to do with weapons? Just answer the question. Yes, of course. The demonstration gallery has full network access for coordinating the displays. Great. Can I borrow a datapad? Threxus produced a datapad from somewhere in his feathers and handed it to me with a flourish. Please, demonstrate away. I am certain we will all be deeply impressed by your communication skills. A few delegates chuckled. I could feel the skepticism radiating off them like heat from a star. I took the datapad, pulled up the network, interface, and started typing. Nothing fancy, no dramatic gestures, no charging weapons or ominous humming. Just me, quietly coding for about 3 minutes, while 300 aliens watched and waited for something interesting to happen. Is he doing anything? Someone whispered. I believe he is just using the terminal, another replied. Perhaps this is some sort of human meditation ritual before combat? I ignored them and kept working. The station's security was pretty good by galactic standards, which is to say it was about as secure as a screen door on a submarine. They'd focused all their defensive measures on physical threats, weapons, ships, projectiles. The digital infrastructure was basically held together with the alien equivalent of duct tape and hope. After 2 minutes and 47 seconds, I hit enter one last time and set the datapad down on the railing. Done, I said. Everyone stared at me. Then they stared at the viewport, clearly expecting some kind of explosion or energy beam or at least a mild fireworks display. Nothing happened. The obliterator hung in space, unchanged. The debris field from the destroyed dwarf planet continued its slow tumble through the void. Stars twinkled. Space remained annoyingly peaceful. Threxus's beak clicked in what I was pretty sure was the alien equivalent of a condescending laugh. Forgive me, human Jake, but I do not see any demonstration. Did your weapon fail to activate? Nope. Worked perfectly. I'm all done. Commander Vaxis oozed closer. You typed on a datapad for 3 minutes. That is your weapon demonstration. Yep. You did not fire anything, deploy anything, activate anything? Well, I activated the weapon. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The delegates were starting to laugh now. Not mean laughter exactly, but definitely the kind of laughter you get when someone promises to show you something amazing and then just stands there picking their nose. I must confess, Threxus said, barely, containing his amusement. I expected something more dramatic from the species that claims to have surpassed the need for superweapons. Perhaps next time Earth sends a representative to the Weapons Demonstration Summit, they should send someone with actual weapons experience. More laughter. Even Vaxis was making that gurgling sound again. Or perhaps, the crystalline tree delegate added, humans are simply better at talking about weapons than actually using them. I shrugged. Believe what you want. I did exactly what you asked. I demonstrated a human weapon. You demonstrated typing, Threxus corrected, which I suppose is very threatening to documents that need editing. The whole gallery was chuckling now. I'd gone from mildly annoying curiosity to full-on joke in the span of 3 minutes. Well, I said, checking my watch. This should kick in right about now. What should kick in? Threxus asked, still smiling. That's when the alarms started. Not quiet alarms, not polite beeping. Full-on, evacuate the station, everyone is probably going to die alarms. Red lights flooded the gallery. A klaxon that could wake the dead started wailing from every speaker. The station's AI, which had been silent this whole time, suddenly spoke in a voice that managed to sound both calm and absolutely panicked. Critical system failure detected. Life support compromised. Navigation offline. Defense grid disabled. Emergency protocols failing. Reactor containment at 60% and dropping. Every single delegate froze. Threxus whirled toward me, feathers standing straight up. "What did you do?" I picked up the datapad again and casually scrolled through the readouts. "Oh, just a standard cyber attack. Uploaded a nice little virus through your communication network. It's currently spreading through every system on the station. Life support, weapons, navigation, the works. Give it another 2 minutes and the reactor shielding will fail completely. Then we'll have about 30 seconds before this whole place becomes a very expensive fireworks display." The laughter had stopped. "You," Commander Vaxis whispered, his entire body trembling. "You are killing us all? For a demonstration?" "Well, I could be killing you all," I corrected. "But that would be pretty rude, and I don't want to create an intergalactic incident on my first day here. So no, I'm not actually going to vent the station or let the reactor go critical. I just wanted to show you that I could." I tapped the datapad a few more times. The alarms cut off. The red lights faded back to normal. The AI spoke again. "All systems restored. False alarm. Please disregard previous warnings." The silence in the gallery was absolute. 300 aliens stared at me like I'd just grown a second head. "See," I said into the quiet. "That's a practical weapon. Didn't cost billions of credits. Didn't require a moon-sized ship. Didn't leave any debris. Just me, a datapad, and 3 minutes of typing. And I could have killed everyone on this station without firing a single shot. That's what I meant by weapons you don't see coming." Nobody laughed this time. Threxus was the first to find his voice, though it came out about 3 octaves higher than normal. "You compromised an entire Council military station in under 3 minutes? 2 minutes 47 seconds, actually. I rounded up to be polite. With just a datapad? Well, technically with just basic network access. The datapad was just the interface. Your security protocols are really more focused on physical threats, which makes sense given all the giant weapons you guys build. But you left your digital infrastructure wide open. I could have done this from my ship's comm system if I'd known the access codes." Commander Vaxis had turned a color I'm pretty sure wasn't healthy for his species. "You could have vented us into space." "Yep, detonated the reactor." "Uh-huh. Disabled our weapons and left us defenseless. Already did that part, actually. Your defense grid is still offline. I just turned the alarms off so we could talk without all the noise." The collective realization spread through the gallery like a cold wave. Every weapon system they just demonstrated, the molecular disintegrators, the quantum implosion devices, the obliterator itself, all relied on computer systems. Computer systems that, apparently, a random human cargo hauler could hack in less time than it took to order coffee. "This is why humans do not build superweapons," I continued, setting the datapad down. "Because the moment you plug that weapon into any kind of network, any kind of computer system, any kind of automated process, it becomes vulnerable. And it doesn't matter how thick your armor is or how powerful your shields are, if someone can just tell your own systems to shut down." The crystalline tree delegate's lights were flickering rapidly. "But surely you have safeguards? Protections?" "Oh sure, lots of them. Firewalls, encryption, isolated systems, the works. But here's the thing about security, it only takes one vulnerability. One overlooked access point. One lazy programmer who reused a password. And humans have gotten really, really good at finding that one vulnerability. Because you weaponized your own technology," Threxus said quietly. "You turned the tools of civilization into instruments of war." "We turned everything into instruments of war," I corrected. "That's kind of humanity's whole deal. We don't need planet crackers because we can make your planet crack itself. We don't need bioweapons because we can manipulate your supply chains until you can't feed your population. We don't need superweapons because we figured out that the scariest weapon is the one that makes you realize nothing you have is actually secure." I gestured at the viewport where the obliterator still floated, dark and menacing. "That thing out there, I could probably take control of it from here if I had another 10 minutes and administrative access. Turn it on its creators, or just brick the whole system so it becomes a very expensive piece of space junk. That's the problem with making weapons so complex they need computer systems to operate. Computers can be hacked, and humans are very, very good at hacking." The silence stretched out. I could practically see the existential dread settling over the crowd as they mentally reviewed every weapon system, every ship, every station they owned, and realized all of them had computer systems. All of them had vulnerabilities. All of them could potentially be turned against their owners by someone who knew what they were doing. "So, when you asked to see Earth's weapons," Vaxis said slowly, "you were already looking at them. This entire station is a weapon. Our ships are weapons. Our own infrastructure is a weapon for you. For anyone who knows how to use it, really. But yeah, basically, humans learned a long time ago that the best weapons are the ones your enemy builds for you. We just have to figure out how to take control of them. Threxus had been very quiet, his feathers slowly deflating. When he finally spoke, he sounded tired. No wonder Earth has not joined the Council's military demonstrations before. You have been evaluating our capabilities, finding our weaknesses, mapping our systems, all while we thought you were simply primitive. Oh, we are primitive, I said cheerfully. Our ships are slower, our weapons are less powerful, our technology is way behind yours. But we're also really good at making other people's advanced technology work for us instead of them. It's kind of our specialty. I picked up the datapad one more time and tapped a final command. There, your defense grid is back online. Full control returned to your station AI. No backdoors, no lingering code, no surprises. I'm not trying to start a war here. Just wanted to show you that dangerous doesn't always mean big and loud. Sometimes it means small and quiet and already inside your systems before you realize there's a threat. The delegates were looking at each other now. That special kind of look that people share when they've all simultaneously realized they've made a terrible mistake. Probably the mistake of assuming the primitive species with chemical rockets wasn't worth worrying about. Right then, I said, clapping my hands together. This has been fun and educational, but I really should get back to my ship. Still got that protein paste delivery to make, and I'm already 3 hours behind schedule. I started walking toward the exit. Nobody moved to stop me. Nobody said anything at all. I paused at the door and looked back. Oh, one more thing. That complimentary lunch buffet you mentioned in the welcome packet, is that still available? Or did I miss it with all the demonstrations? Threxus just stared at me. Right, I'll take that as a no. Well, it's been real, folks. Thanks for the show. Very impressive stuff, really. Those explosions were top-notch. I walked out of the gallery, leaving 300 delegates sitting in stunned silence, probably wondering if their morning coffee makers were plotting against them. Behind me, I heard Commander Vaxis's voice, barely a whisper. Someone please tell me our ships have isolated computer systems. And Threxus's response, they do not. Oh, I smiled all the way back to my ship. Turns out the scariest weapon in the galaxy isn't the one that can destroy a planet. It's the one that makes you realize you've been carrying the means of your own destruction this whole time, and you never even noticed. Humanity. Check. Yeah,